sentiments of people who are extreme left or extreme right. That gets tiring. It's just too much like Crossfire. It's, let's take it issue by issue and make sense instead of, well, the left must be right all the time. We can do better than that. Intelligence. Class is something I haven't seen on Spreaker much. Not a lot of class. And all of us sometimes lose our class in fits, but there are some people that don't have any class, and you can't really teach class. I don't think you can. I think someone's just born with it. It's just a certain amount of reserved use of words instead of going out and attacking everybody. And once you've been attacked, I understand counterattacks, but some people just stay on a campaign of attacking people, and they love to create Spreaker drama. So I'm telling the newer listeners, I'm advising the younger people, stay completely out of that. As soon as you hear personal attacks going on, get rid of it. What are you going to have? What are you going to learn from that? You can either jump on the bandwagon and say, I hate this person too. Hey, Mr. White, welcome to the chat room. Glad you're here. You guys must be bored shitless. I needed to do a show. Let me tell you why I'm doing this show real quick. First of all, it probably won't be too exciting, but we will talk about everything. Secondly, I needed to do this show because my last two shows sucked. I mean, I was drunk for 5 hours on one, and then the other one got cut off 20 minutes into a Roswell visit, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. Roswell, do I believe in aliens? Yes, I do. Do I believe they've been to Earth? Not necessarily. Do I hate people that ask themselves questions and answer them? Yes. So do I hate myself? Yes. Now, hanging over my bed right now is a picture. Not over my bed, but on the wall looking over my bed. And that picture is of 3 aliens. The typical green, pointed chin, tiny nose, tiny lips, big black almond-shaped eyes, kind of a big head. And this is a neat picture because as you move across the room, they do the little 3D thing where they shift and they're looking at you. I don't mind crosstalk either, as long as they're discussing valid points and not just selling their ideology. That gets old. But crosstalk on RT, I'm going to have to check that out. I was thinking of Crossfire, but it sounds like this is a kind of an imitation show on RT, which I think is Russia Today or something like that. So I'm looking at these aliens, and this picture, I didn't really want it. I just thought it was really cool. And my friend saw that, and he said, if we hung that picture up at home, would that make you happy? Well, I said, no, it wouldn't make me happy, but it is cool. And he's like, I'm getting it for you. And he got it for me. It's not an expensive picture, but it is cool. So now I got these aliens looking over my bed. I wish Spreaker made it easy to share an image real quick. I don't want to go through all the uploads and shit, but anyway, it's just what you would imagine. I believe aliens are most certainly real. I don't know if they've been to Earth. I've seen no good evidence, but there was something almost spiritual about standing on the ground at Roswell. And we pulled up the maps and we pulled up the internet stories and we tried to narrow down exactly where this crash zone was. And I know we got close to it. I don't know if we were standing right on it, but we ended up pulling way off of this road, like 3 miles down into these fields, these cattle fields. And there we were in the dark of night, looking up at the sky, looking around us, making jokes. But inside I was thinking, if an alien craft really crashed here, this is a special spot. It really is. Because if we would have left the press release in the paper as it was, which said, I believe, Army captures flying disc at Roswell, and it was true, and we were open about it, that would have changed everything from 1947 on. Everything. Religions would have damn near collapsed. Just about all of them. We might not have had a 9/11 if something as simple as Roswell, if it was an alien craft, were left open and exposed for scientific and public inquiry to learn what's going on. We obviously have species out in the universe that do not match our own but have intelligence. Now, all we have now is theories. And the more science I look at, the more I'm convinced, yes, I want there to be aliens, but I can set what I want aside to look at what is probable. It's absolutely highly probable that life exists outside of our planet, and intelligent life at that, because we figured out how life can move through the vacuum of space, how the basic building blocks, the amino acids, can conglomerate and over time create life from asteroids. We're probably the aliens on this planet. If it's not that, if it wasn't random like that, then we could have been put here, a few of us. 100 of us dropped off. And maybe that would be the source for many of these God stories you hear. Because like I wrote in my first book, Name of Alt, have you ever noticed that when people talk about religions, they're gods, and these are religions that did not previously communicate with one another before the 17th century. Their gods always come from the sky. There's very often mentioned a chariot or a chariot of fire. None of the gods come from the ground. And if you think about it, that's all primitive. I hate to say primitive because that implies a lack of intelligence, and some of them were very intelligent, but primitive civilizations, they never talked about their gods coming from the ground. The ground is something they could touch and feel, they knew about. Only thing they ever saw in the sky was some rain, maybe some lightning, some birds. On the ground was everything else. All the magic happened on the ground. Yet these peoples, were always talking about gods coming from the sky. And it makes you wonder if they're mistaken about what they claimed. Would that many people lie? Because if they're lying, and they actually believe in their gods, then they would be subjecting themselves to breaking the laws of those gods, which in almost every religion imply that you must tell the truth. Or, what if they saw something and simply didn't know how to describe it? And if you look at some of the ancient inscriptions, there's some pretty interesting ones. I'm not going to go with the ancient astronaut theory because I don't buy into all of that, especially with that fucking Friedrich George Sigalus, whatever his name is. That homeboy needs a little bit of therapy and some very high-powered narcotics because he's fucking loony. Race would not be an issue. Race would not be an issue. Yeah, race wouldn't be an issue. You're right. I mean, if Roswell had been real and we exposed it for everyone to view. Now, I understand if the American government got involved and said, look, we can help defend our country if we can figure out this technology. Did you see the speed of that thing? Or look how advanced this metal is. That makes sense. It also makes sense if they say, look, society's going to go nuts. If we show them aliens, they're going to believe we're under attack, even if this was just a random crash. We cannot let society fall apart like that, or we'll have no control, and America will quickly go down the tubes. Now, all these other countries releasing their UFO files, I appreciate what they're doing. I wish America would do the same, unless we have reverse engineered some technology, and we don't want to give that up. I get that. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about if there have been crashes with bodies and all that shit. I don't know. When I hear, if you want to see, if you're not real sure what to think about the alien thing, one documentary I would advise watching is Out of the Blue. It's on YouTube, Out of the Blue. And it is one of the most compelling stories I've ever heard because of the quality and number of the witnesses. Ridiculously intelligent FAA people, naval captains, test pilots for the Air Force, astronauts. There are many astronauts who are on board with the idea that there's definitely life out there, and some of them, like Ed Mitchell, say there's life here. We have visitor aliens right now. Not something you would expect someone the caliber of an astronaut to say unless he'd seen something. And he's already admitted, I haven't seen the evidence directly, but I have two sources for my information and I trust them. And when an astronaut says that, you can bet you're getting pretty much the highest caliber of honesty and qualifications for identifying things in the sky. And I have a hard time ignoring witnesses like that. Now, if you go out to a trailer park, nothing against trailers, in Idaho during the summer, and somebody comes out and they're toothless, and they got a banjo in one hand and a 40 ounce in the other, and they say, I done seen me an alien. Walked right up to me, tried to sell me space insurance. I didn't know what to do. I was going to shoot him, but then he jumped in his craft and flew away. Craziest thing I never saw. Then now you have a witness credibility issue, and we're going to make our judgments because we're humans, and we're actually pretty dumb that way. If someone doesn't strike us as a credible witness, we'll pretty much discard what they have to say right away. So I've heard people argue, well, if there really are aliens, why are they going after the dumbest people? Well, maybe that's why. If they are, maybe they don't want us to give credibility to the witnesses. They're afraid to spook our species. Trust me, if an alien came here, or a pack, fleet of aliens or whatever, and they wanted to kill us, we'd be gone. We'd be fucking gone. They're not here to farm us. All these bullshit conspiracy theories you hear. Anything an alien could do over time, anything we can do over time, an alien can pretty much do instantly. If they've conquered interstellar travel, you can bet they have the associated technologies to get done what they need done on Earth right away. I mean, it's just silly stuff that they're farming us and shit. That's fear. That's a human being's natural fear instinct being painted onto an outside source. That's all it is. It's fear. Fear is what the media uses. It's how they're going to get you. Got you convinced that Syrian refugees are coming to take America. They're going to take your planes. They're going to bomb your trains. They're going to fuck your poodle up the ass. Well, I hope that they're ready when they get to America, because people are starting to get armed up here with the shootings that we've had, from Virginia Tech on to 9/11 Virginia Tech, Aurora, even on an army base, even on an army post in Afghanistan, or I think that was actually, I think it was Afghanistan. I don't think it was Iraq. Anyway, so people are starting to arm up here, and they're like, you know what, fuck it, I can't trust anybody. So terrorists that come here and decide to go out in the streets and open fire, they're going to get capped pretty quick, I think. But I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of casualties from bad aim, because everybody that goes to a target range and practice fires may be great at hitting the bullseye, but when your adrenaline's pumping and your hands are shaking a little, and they will, not necessarily from fear, just from the extra adrenaline, you don't know what you're going to hit. So you've got to practice under duress somehow, some way. You've got to practice under fire. And that's why in the military they use such extreme measures to try to spook you while you're shooting, at least in the Marines and Army. I'm not sure about the Navy. I know the Air Force, they pretty much play classical music while you fire, so not a lot of Air Force people ready for using the M16 correctly. You got to be able to fire when bullets are whizzing past your head. You got to be able to fire when Hakeem grabs his vest and gets ready to pull a string. And that's what people don't compensate for. Have you ever seen the videos of the police that get shot while on duty? Have you ever seen how bad they freak the fuck out when they're about to get shot? I mean, some of these videos, I wish I hadn't seen them. But police officers that are trained to deal with this stuff apparently aren't trained under stress, and they need to be. And, I mean, they literally scream like ladies and run and beg for their lives, and I think people think they're ready, but they're not as ready. So, anyway, if they come to America and they start just going out in fucking Times Square and shooting, then they're going to get capped pretty quick. But they don't care. That's the problem. There'll be more terrorists to replace them. This is a self-regenerating force, this Islamic extremism, but it's not the main threat to your life, especially in America. I can't really speak for the world, so sorry, Andrew, I'm not trying to exclude Australia, but, Australia, I feel bad that they can't have firearms for people that are legally allowed to have them, but something's got to give there, because you guys could find yourself in a similar situation as Paris. These terrorists are now looking for places that are gun-free zones, and these single shooter, the lone wolf scenario, they're looking for places that are gun-free zones because they know they can kill more people before they're shot. So I don't know. I've always been a fan of Second Amendment rights. I question the interpretation of it because I know when it was written and why it was written. It doesn't really apply to today, but I like the idea of every citizen who's not a felon being allowed to defend themselves with lethal force. That I do like. We're going to talk more. We're going to talk a little about the news, a little more about Spreaker drama. Who do you guys like or dislike on Spreaker right now? Got any problem people that you're dealing with? Andrew, Mr. White, if you care to share. If you're not getting into the drama, I understand that as well. I know that I could stir. Here's the thing. You guys know that this show doesn't have a huge listenership, and it's never going to, because I don't get into the drama. But once in a while I feel like we have to talk about it, like just one show every few months, just talk a little bit about the drama level at Spreaker. Who are the victims? Who are the psychos? Who are the neurotics? And who's just trying to stir up ratings? The first thing you'll see is a new guy come in. This happens all the time. And they're going to look for who's getting the most listens. As soon as they find that person, they're going to find a few things they disagree with, and they're going to attack that person. And they're trying to jump up the totem pole that way. Maybe that works. I don't know what the world's listening for these days. I know I won't listen to that shit. It's boring as shit. Like I said, it's a self-contained audience here at Spreaker. We don't really travel outside of Spreaker with any of the drama that we have picked up in here. So it's boring to me, really is boring. But some of the stuff that happens does bother me. Like, for example, and I'll say her name, Bath